The second Rebbe of Chabad, his name was Dovber. He was an unusually holy person, even among the holy people. He could pray for hours. And when he was praying, he was totally oblivious to the world, totally oblivious, to the point where he would pray sometimes in his room alone. And when the person wanted to clean up the room, he would just move him from one place to another. He was just out of it. He didn't feel that he was being moved like a piece of furniture. Anyway, his holiness was like unmatched. And his followers were tremendously devoted to him. They say that one time he said one Chassidic discourse, all these difficult Kabbalistic ideas and nuances and how it's relevant to our service in this world. That's the uniqueness of Chassidut, is teaching us how the Kabbalistic ideas can arouse our heart to appreciate God more. So once he said one Chassidic discourse for 13 hours nonstop. And there's one Chassid that he said he leaned on him for 13 hours. Okay, so he had a pupil. His pupil was Peretz Chaim. Peretz Chaim. He was a very talented person, and but of course nowhere near like the Rebbe's. He was a talented person, but he wasn't like a super genius and the Gaon of Vilna or someone like that. He was a talented, very capable person. Anyway, the Rebbe after him, when the second Rebbe of Chabad, the middle Rebbe that I talked about, that he was so holy, when he passed away, so after him did not come one of his sons. It came the son of his sister. In other words, the Alter Rebbe had a daughter that was called Devorah Leah, and she gave her life for the Alter Rebbe. She saw that the Alter Rebbe, that he was under he was going to be sentenced to death. Anyway, she spiritually gave her life. It's a long story. But anyway, she, on the condition that the first Rebbe of Chabad would bring up her son. And that son became the Tzemach Tzedek. His name was Menachem Mendel. He was the third Rebbe of Chabad. Good. So the second Rebbe of Chabad passed away. And his, I guess, son-in-law, that's his right? Son-in-law, his sister's son, he became the next Rebbe. Good. So he sent this Peretz Chaim to be the rabbi in where? Okop, I think, the city of Okop. Okay. The problem is that in the city of Okop was a very genius Jew that had been a follower of the Mittler Rebbe, of the previous Rebbe. And he was a genius. His name was Moshe Morovsky. Not Moshe Morovsky. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And he was an incredible, sharp genius in all aspects of the Torah. And anyone that came to that city to be a rabbi, they would test him. And of course, the people in the city, they were all, there were a lot of people in the city that were tremendous geniuses, but they didn't match up to this Moshe Morovsky. They didn't match up to him. And Moshe Morovsky would ask any rabbi that was trying out for the post to the rabbi, would ask him questions that he couldn't answer. We would ask him one question, he would sense immediately where the weakness of this person was in Torah. It's a little bit, cruel, but on the other hand, that was his nature, and he wanted somebody that was 100%. So no one wanted to go there. No one wanted to go to the city because they knew that this Rabbi Moshe Morovsky, he would make a fool of them. So they didn't want to go. So the Tzemach Tzedek said, you have to go there. You have to go. And of course, there were rabbis that did try. It was, a good position. I guess it paid money, whatever. And it was a good position. It was an honorable position. But everybody that went there failed. So the Tzemach Tzedek told this Peretz Chaim, You have to go to Okup and you have to be the rabbi over there. So he said, but there's this Moshe Morovsky. He's over there. He's going to make a fool out of him. Maybe give him a word. Give him a word. The Tzemach Tzedek said, I'm not going to give you a word. You're going to give him a word. He said, you're going to go there and don't worry, it'll be all right. You'll answer his questions. He said, but listen, this man, I mean, he's just a genius. He knows everything. I don't know what I'm going to do. He says, don't worry about it. So he went there and all of the honorables of the city came to test him. And they asked him questions. And surprisingly, this Moshe Morovsky, he supported this Peretz Chaim. And usually he had no mercy, not on Chabad Hasidim, not on anybody. And he supported him. And every answer that he gave reasons why that was the right answer and how it was good. And he didn't try to find any weaknesses in it whatsoever. And so he was chosen for the job, Peretz Chaim. And afterwards, he went over and he thanked this Moshe Morovsky. He said, I really appreciate you supporting me. You're a big genius, and I'm sure you could have found something wrong in what I said. And he said, oh yeah, could have been, I found, but not with you. Not going to do anything wrong. And he said, not because you're Chabad. He said, you should know I knocked down a lot of rabbis from Chabad that they sent. He says, but you're something different. Why? He said, because I heard that you're also from Smolian, right? Smolian. And Peretz Chaim said, yeah, when I was young, I lived in Smolian, but nobody, who knows that? Smolian. He said, well, I know it. I asked around. I know it. He says, why did you ask around Smolian? Why is that important? He said, I'll tell you why. Because when my teacher, the Mittler Rebbe, when he was sick and he was dying, so there were times when he was incoherent. He would speak and say things that just didn't make any sense. Right at the very end of his life, the very end, the last hour, whatever, he became tremendously lucid. And he said a mimer, but before that, there were times when he was just speaking what seemed to be nonsense. But we, his followers, did not consider it to be nonsense. And we wrote everything down that he said. Everything that he said. The most seemingly foolish things, we wrote everything down. And one thing that he was saying, that he said, was Peretz Smolian, he's a good person. Peretz from Smolian is a good person. He repeated this a lot of times. And so we asked around, who was Peretz Smolian? Who was it? We asked all the Hasidim, Peretz and Smolian. One of the Hasidim said, oh, Peretz Chaim, when he was a boy, he lived in Smolian. Maybe that's what he was referring to. And so he said, oh, now that you came here, I realized why the Rebbe was saying that. Right? He said that like this was like 10 years earlier. He said that before he passed on. He said, now I realize why the Rebbe said, Peretz Smolian, he's a good person. He's all right. Because that's you. And he wanted you to be the rabbi of this place, that you're a good person, you're right. I shouldn't find any fault in you. That's what he said. So we see from this several things. Number one, that the Tzemach Tzedek, the third Rebbe, he somehow or other knew that he was fit for the job. Also, we knew that his preceding the Rebbe, the second Rebbe, he saw in the future that this was going to happen. It was going to, and even the words that he said, which apparently made no sense, it says they did make sense. They made very deep sense. Every movement, every word that a Rebbe says has tremendous importance and effect in the world. That's why it's so important. A lot of people I know that have dollars that the Rebbe gave them. The Rebbe gave them. I know people that are not religious people. The dollar of the Rebbe, oh, that's precious by them. That's a precious thing, right? Oh, I have a dollar of the Rebbe, of course. So what's the big deal? How many dollars there are in the world? The Lubavitcher Rebbe gave this dollar. It's a special thing, right? So even a movement, even something that they touched, right, has a special holy significance to it. And here we see the case. The Rebbe was totally incoherent, and he was saying these words, but they wrote every word down, and it ended up that every word did have an importance to it. And because of that, Peretz Chaim became the rabbi of the town. Have a good day with Mashiach now.